All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Swampscott School Committee regular session meeting for Thursday, April 10th, 6 p.m. We are at Swampscott High School in room B129. Come on down, keep us company. Call this meeting to order. If you are able, let's please stand and do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everybody. We have some folks here this evening, and soon-to-be Superintendent Kalishman. Let's talk of the love of learning. It's all you.
All right, so we're going to call Lindsay Palazzati to...
I think there's slides that you should be able to see. I don't know if they...
They're LinkedIn.
We're going to include them, but...
They're LinkedIn.
So hold on for one sec. Just get the mic working and...
So I'm here to share with you some upcoming events we have going on in the district and for the community. So I applied to some grants in the fall with this idea of I wanted to run a book club around this novel called Don't Ask Me Where I'm From by local author Jennifer DeLeon. She lives in Boston. And she tells the story of Liliana, who's a 9th grade student who goes to school in Boston, but it gets accepted into the METCO program. And then it has like her transition to now like an all-white school. It goes through themes of discrimination, identity, how she kind of feels split between like her friends at school, friends at home. And I did this as a book club a few years ago on Zoom as a summer read with fellow educators. And it really created a safe space for us to have conversations around these topics without feeling like it was personal, like not having to say, oh, this happened to me before. We could talk about the characters in the book and their experiences, and it just was a really valuable experience. So I applied for some grants from the METCO program and from ECLC, Essex County Learning Community, and they both contributed so that we could run the book club, but also have the author come and speak with us as well and do some community events with students, teachers, and then in the evening. So it's going to kind of go through, and I have a few slides, but this all goes towards our core values here at Swampscott. We've had a lot of training around this, but this is just an extra thing that teachers can join and enhance and kind of build upon that. Currently we have about 20 teachers signed up to do the reading after school, and we'll meet 4 consecutive weeks and kind of talk about it and see. If you keep going down, I'll go to the school events we have. So the 9th grade teachers are going to offer this as an independent reading option to their students so that they can read and get to hear this story and have those conversations, and then they'll also get to see an assembly by the author when she visits. We're also going to have an affinity group with the SOCO, and the METCO directors are leading that, so they will get to have lunch with her. And Krista Lynch is also running a book club with some of the girls she mentors. And then we have the Educators Book Club, which I was telling you about. But what's kind of exciting is we also have some community options. So we've partnered with Shore Diversity. They run a diversity book club. I think they might do a monthly book club, but they've decided they're going to use this as their May book club. So I'm trying to read it. Is it May 19th?
Yes.
Yeah. Monday, May 19th, they are going to have a book club at the library. So if anyone in the community would like to pick up a copy or reserve one from the library, you can read it and discuss with them and kind of do that as like a little preview. And then we're inviting everyone in the community, whether you read the book or not, to join us on May 27th. If you go down to the next slide, for her presentation on the power of storytelling to the community. So I'm hoping we'll get a great turnout. I am looking if there's any community partners that want to provide some refreshments for that evening event or want to sponsor the affinity lunch for SoCo. That would be great. I'm looking for some little extra support to bring it full circle. Do you have any questions?
Okay.
No, I don't have a question. I think it's so, the idea that you've just internalized the whole core process and that isn't just words on a paper is exciting for me as a school committee member.
I also think the timing is great too, because we're turning over to a new superintendent, and I know Ms. Angelakis was really keen on the MECO program and building it, and I think this is a good way for the new superintendent to start fresh with everyone kind of understanding how difficult it is to be a MECO student, or what the pressures are and the challenges are, and the opportunities are as well. So I think it's great timing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, I don't want to put you on the spot, but there's obviously a lot about DEI. And I'm actually going to comment on that during committee chair comment. How have your students have you had any discussions with your students about just the sudden shift, even though in Massachusetts it's not a shift, but on a federal level? Have you guys talked about anything at all? Has it been brought up at all?
So I teach 7th grade science. I have not directly had those, but there has been lunchroom. It's more conversation with teachers in the lunchroom and like how we still value this. We felt good seeing the message come from DESE saying that like whatever's going on isn't changing what we value, which makes us all feel good because we do value this and we want to see it continue and not get cut out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Wait, can Mrs.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah, please, Ms. Green.
Just introduce yourself. Yes.
No.
You're going to need a microphone, though. Here, you want to stay there?
So I think it's come up, like, it's interesting because I teach To Kill a Mockingbird along with Courtney Rousseau in our 9th grade program, and a lot of our lessons are through, like, I did a whole program with Facing History in Ourselves to teach the book, and it's all DEI, it's all about, like, reframing the text, and so I've had to, and they're 9th graders, and I don't think some of them don't fully grasp, like, all the things, obviously, that are going on outside of here. But I've had to couch like these conversations very carefully and say, we had to reframe like how we're looking at the book, so we're sensitive to what's going on, and I have talked to them a little bit about, these are conversations like what I'm doing right now is actually kind of against what the federal government is asking me to do, but thank goodness that I teach in Massachusetts because I probably would get in trouble if I were bringing like these Facing History in Ourselves documents and looking at these perspectives and talking about the concept of the white savior for Atticus and like the problems with him, and like we watched the Scott Sparrow trial, to the inspiration in part behind the book, and so that has been something I brought up. My 10th graders are more, I think, aware and appreciative of the conflict that's going on, and so we've done a lot of dystopian literature, and they really have a new appreciation for Animal Farm and George Orwell in 1984, and so we've kind of done it in a very, underhand way, but the kids know, and we've let all voices be heard, but the older kids, I think, are very aware. And you can obviously ask your student reps for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Green. So Noel, I'm going to put you on the spot too. Has there been, you're leaving here, you're going to college, you're going out of state.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious.
I'm going to South Carolina.
Yeah. So right. So you're going to a very interesting place. Great school, but an interesting location.
Yes, I do agree with you. I want to say I cannot believe that's how I was taught To Kill a Mockingbird with all of that, like the white savior complex and all that stuff. So to think that that's not how it's going to be taught is kind of crazy. But we definitely talk about it, and it's definitely a discussion. But we kind of edge around it a little bit just because it is.
Right.
But we're going to see when I go to college and how that's going to play out.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Anyone on the dais? Hey, Sam, welcome.
Sorry, I'm late.
Nah, don't worry about it. Welcome.
Being haunted.
Welcome. All right.
I was just going to say one thing. I was going to say, so at the middle school level, the last few years, we've had a book club as well with 2 8th grade teachers who are running it in the morning during advisory, and it's about marginalized groups and having the discussions. I think at one point we had up to 40 students. It hasn't happened this year yet, but it was quite a game changer as far as the conversations go. And then I just think it's interesting that probably the time you're going to see the kids most excited to read is when we do our banned book unit in the 8th grade. Did they do that when you guys were in 8th grade? Do you remember? Well,
We talked about it.
Okay, so we have an official books that are banned in other parts of the country, and you never see like fights for a book more than during that unit. So, yes, it's interesting.
And like, what are those?
Yeah.
Well, Miss Zipper and Miss Murphy go through. They give a big assortment of books that kids can choose from. Yeah,
Wow, that's interesting. That's a really
independent read.
Yeah, that's very interesting. All right, anything else? Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
exciting.
It's really exciting. Thank you for taking the time to come on and chat with us. All right. All right, next we're going to committee comments. I'll start with Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you guys, I want to talk about the schools and the select board meeting last week. On one hand, I'm completely thrilled that the select board voted to commit to fully funding our FY26 budget. I think we're fortunate to be in this position where some people are really listening and taking time to learn about the budget. But on the other hand, I can't get over that the chair of the select board abstained from taking a vote. And her reason was that she hadn't seen our line item budget. You know, we can disagree about substantive things. Like, I am all for good discourse and debate, but we can't disagree about facts. And we know how hard we worked into January to all of us, like staff and the school committee, right? To be able to put together a budget earlier than normal and answer questions that were coming at us and explain our pressures. And then on January 20th, we had the complete school department line item budget, which is earlier than I remember ever seeing it. And that was delivered to the town finance director. It was delivered to the FinCom members and the select board members. And that was all in advance of the meeting we were going to have when Ms. Stella, was going to present the budget. So on the 23rd of January, we had a joint meeting with the select board and the finance committee, and everyone had the line item budget, and that was what was presented to all of us together. And then the complete school department line item budget was published in the FY26 Town of Swampscott budget book, which is unprecedented. It has never, ever been in there. It doesn't have to be in there. State guidelines don't require it to be in there because we are one line item in the budget. But it was in there. And it was provided to the select board before their meeting on March 5th. So when Mary Ellen Fletcher said she hadn't seen the school committee's line item budget, none of the at least 8 people that were in the room who knew this was not true said anything. And I am among those 8 people. And I want to apologize first to the superintendent, to Ms. Stella, Ms. Raymond, Ms. Sorrow, Mr. Cresta, because the chair's lies disparaged the hard work that you guys have done to make sure the budget discussions began earlier than usual and that everyone was provided all the budget information and had clarity on all the questions that were being asked. I didn't stand to defend your efforts, and I'm sorry. This morning I learned that Mary Ellen is doubling down on her lie. And there's absolutely no way she has not seen the line item budget. She has asked specific questions about it. It's literally in her hands when she looks through the town budget book. Lies break down relationships. They break down trust. They prevent us from actually having honest discussions about this budget. And that's troublesome. This board represents our students, our family. I mean, these guys sitting right here, and we need to send an unmistakable message that that you can't lie. It's objectively wrong, and we need to show that lies have consequences. But I know that as a committee, we can't endorse a candidate, since Ms. Fletcher's up for re-election. But as an individual, I want to endorse a candidate that I can trust and to lead with honesty and conviction. I want a new voice. But unfortunately today, I can't show the students and the staff and the family that lies have consequences, because I also learned this afternoon that as a committee, we can't take a vote of no confidence. We can't endorse a candidate, nor can we take a vote of no confidence in the chair of the select board, even given the statements she's made publicly regarding our budget. I wish we could. I just wish we could, because I don't have confidence in moving forward and having honest discussions, and I think it's really hindered. To me, it's hurt our relationship in a way that's not really repairable, because this has been a really tough conversation for all of us for a really long time, and now I'm realizing we haven't had an honest discussion about it, because we may or may not know everything, you know. So I would, if I could, I would have a vote of no confidence. That's how I feel, and I feel the select board needs a new voice. But I'm just curious to get a sense of this board, and if you lack the same confidence in the chair, given her lack of honesty. I know we can't take an official vote, but I'm just curious. I think everyone here has sort of like an opinion about what just happened. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate that. Karen? Oh, I'm sorry. Anything else? Any other
No,
point or anything else?
No.
Great. Thank you. Karen?
Sure.
I understand we can't take a vote. If we could, I would probably be moved to agree. I was also shocked. I was also in the room. And it's unfortunate that you feel in the moment like maybe you can't say anything. You're quiet because you're like, did they misspeak, or am I allowed to just sort of interrupt? But I think it does do a disservice to the people who did the hard work, getting that ready early, presenting it, answering questions, twisting themselves into a pretzel, frankly, and then to have someone act as if it never happened is just really demoralizing. And then to use it as an excuse not to vote, kind of cowardly, honestly. So I'd rather focus on the positive and what the rest of that board did that night, which I can't even put into words. I'm not really sure how to say how pleased and how empowered it felt for the whole town, not just the school district, to see that happen. And it just felt like so much progress, that it was then unfortunate that sort of sunk it a little bit. But I really hope that it is a sign of things to come, and of a new relationship and a new way of looking at the budget and a new way of approaching these things. And so I'm gonna try to remain hopeful on that.
Great.
I want to just add to what you were talking about, and and add to you, Karen. I was really, first of all, I was taken aback when Mr. Brishman made his motion. I didn't dare hope for something that positive, so I'm glad that you're here in the audience tonight, Mr. Brishman. It was really meaningful, and for me, one of the things that we've been talking about is how consistently every year in our budget process, we come up against a wall, generally at the 11th hour. And that's not to say that that's not going to happen this year, because it's still not the 11th hour. And based on some of the actions, I would not be surprised. But I felt like what we did this year by bringing this out early, and putting it out there for everybody to talk about. And there was a lot of discussions behind the scenes. I know all four of us spent a lot of time talking to lots of people throughout the town, but particularly our colleagues on the select board. And so I feel like, you know, the thing that I took away from last spring town meeting was the desire for our town for us to collaborate with our colleagues. That was the message, and look, it was a bitter pill for me to swallow, having stood up there and made this motion. But I heard that, and so I really went into this season looking differently and making calls to people who I wouldn't normally call, and sitting down and talking with people that I wouldn't normally sit down with. So I felt like, okay, this is a new methodology that I feel really proud about. So I was particularly surprised by that statement. It just was not honest, and I felt mostly offended for our employees, and particularly Ms. Stella, who spent many hours directly answering questions from the chair that could only have been asked if she had that line item budget. So we couldn't have done it without you, Ms. Stella, so thank you. And thank you to the select board. Really, it was meaningful, and I felt like after watching the board fight together for the last many months, that this to me was like a moment, and it wasn't just because it was the schools, and I clearly want this to be funded, but it was very gratifying to see the four of you come together and sort of reach across and get along with one another. And that's, I think that's something that I feel like has been missing in the select board for a little while, is that lack of the ability to discuss. So I appreciated that.
Great.
Sorry for, it was long.
That's okay. Thank you. John?
So I'm going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle. I was not at that meeting. I was actually at the Town Administrative Search Committee meeting, the same exact time, so I wish I was there. I do want to say I'm very pleased that there was a 4-0 vote to support our budget. That was very gratifying after all the work that collectively we put in. The perspective I want to come at this is more of kind of the process. And again, maybe it's because I wasn't there and I'm looking at this, you know, everything that kind of happened with, you know, letters to the newspaper and, you know, a lot of just, you know, kind of public chatter about this. You know, I'm going to take more of a 30,000-foot level. If you can give me a couple of minutes, just kind of, I wrote down a couple of thoughts here. So I think if there was something from my own perspective, if someone had like a misunderstanding or disagreement with something that I said, I would hope they'd reach out to me directly and say, what did you mean, or can you clarify that, or can you provide me some context on that, and try to get clarification. I think that approach, in demonstrating that approach to the town and to the other elected officials, I think would serve everyone well, rather than, you know, I don't think it helps anybody to, you know, engage in, you know, kind of a public debate about what happened without getting the people actually kind of talking to one another. Another thought I had was just as far as, I call it collaborative problem solving, because I think we all have the same goals here. You know, listening to what Suzanne said, to what Karen said, to what Amy said, you know, our goal is to serve the community and serve the best possible outcome for our schools and the town. And I do think constructive criticism has its place, but I think it should be part of a solution-focused approach. And again, going back to engaging if there's a question on something that was said, trying to get to the bottom of that. A couple more things, just quickly. Another thought, just again, watching all of this, is from the school committee perspective, again, putting on my lawyer hat, I'm thinking, are there legal implications that could come to the school committee for all this public chatter and things that have been said? You know, I know people have been speaking in their own individual capacity. You know, again, we're talking about it here in a school committee forum again. And, you know, things like that concern me, that, you know, that we're, you know, we could be undermining the work that we're doing here and exposing us to unnecessary risk. Again, that's probably the lawyer in me thinking that. But again, as I said, I'm thinking more 30,000-foot level here. I think, as everyone knows, I think about risk to the district and the committee quite frequently. So again, to protect the integrity of what we do here, I think that proactive and direct communication is really critical. Again, going back to what I said initially. And finally, I just want to emphasize that, you know, for me, I'm a big believer in transparency, and as part of being transparent, I also feel that we should be clear and respectful in our communication. I think that leads to building trust and working effectively, not just as a school committee, but with other town boards. And most importantly to me, I think by being transparent and respectful and clear in our communication, it means that we keep the focus on what really matters, and that's our schools and the children we serve. So again, a little different perspective, but just some thoughts I felt important to raise here.
All right, thank you, John. Noel?
I have nothing for today.
Sam?
I also have no comments.
Sam, I think you have some news, though, for us, don't you?
Yeah.
I do have some news. I just committed to Harvard.
Yeah. And congrats to you and your entire family.
Thank you very
A
much.
lot of hard work. We're proud of both you guys. Just
Yeah.
amazing.
I did want to say, like, a big shout out to, you know, everyone who works in guidance. They all helped me, and I also wanted to acknowledge the fact that we chose not to show class rank this year. You know, we all communicate amongst ourselves with our peers, and I know I'm certainly not first. So it definitely helped me, and I just want to acknowledge that and the work that the whole guidance group did this year. So yeah,
Congrats.
you guys as well.
I
Good
think
to-
that's a really interesting point,
Yeah.
too.
Great
And-
endorsement.
And it is, when you look at what's happening across the board, I can't wait for the team to come in and present who's going where, because
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot more of those ultra-competitive schools that
Right.
we are seeing on the lists.
Yeah.
So I think class ranking played a big part.
Yeah.
of that.
For
So,
sure.
Congrats, really.
Congrats.
That's
Thank
you.
great.
Congratulations
Congrats to you.
to both of you.
All right, I mean, I have some things to say during committee chair comment. I do want to just weigh in on kind of the topic at hand. I was one of the four who was sitting in the room, and I first of all, again, to the select board, to those who voted yes, thank you. I was pleasantly blown off my chair when the motion was made. I was very surprised. I was very happy when it was, you know, the 4 votes. I was candidly disappointed in the abstention. You know, I absolutely understand a no vote. I get it, right? You feel a certain way, okay, I have no problem with that. I'm going to disagree, but you can vote no. But you know, in all, and I've watched these videos, I don't know how many times, because I think, like Amy, you said, I was unsure that I heard it. But by the look of the people who are both sitting at the dais, like we are now, and us, it really was, did I really hear that? So I am a little disappointed. I am very pleased we have 4 votes. To someone's point, we're not across the finish line yet. Cheryl and I are going to the Finance Committee meeting on Monday. This will be the last time that we present anything in our budget at this point. I am going to assume that both the Select Board and the Finance Committee know as much of the budget as we do at this point. I agreed that Cheryl and I would go to answer a few last-minute questions. But other than that, I don't feel we can ask our team to have another night meeting to go over again, kind of the same thing. You know, I get questions, you know, no one is as intimately involved in this budget as we are, but at least from my perspective, that's it on Monday. You know, vote yes, vote no. We have, you know, there's repercussions for both, and let that kind of stay out there, but that's it, we're done after Monday. So, again, I was disappointed in the abstention.
Can I respond to John?
Absolutely, this is an open
No,
discussion.
if you're done.
Thank you for asking.
I'm a little bit upset with thinking, so my letter to the select board was as a private citizen of Swampscott. I specifically said I'm writing as myself, not as a member of this committee, nor as a representative of the school district. And I said my piece, and I'm bringing it now because I actually didn't hear back from the chair when I presented this information to her, and I didn't hear back from her, and I still haven't heard from her. And you know, it's on her now I called her out, and I asked her, you know, is this, you're really saying this is true? And now I'm not concerned that we're bringing any slanders or any liabilities to this committee. I am speaking as an individual, and I'm speaking based on facts. I mean, I would be concerned if I was calling out some lies that I heard about or secondhand, or that, you know, were coming to me as gossip or anything. But we sat there. I mean, this is a fact. We presented this budget to her, like literally gave it to her, and I'm speaking. I'm speaking as a representative and a leader. You know, you can't abstain from votes. You can vote no for sure, and you can vote yes, but you can't have it both ways. And you certainly can't lie, and lies do have consequence. I mean, it has consequences to our staff that is demoralized a little bit and worked so hard to answer all the questions and do what we've been talking about and collaborating, because we have been collaborating. I mean, that's something we all believe in, and myself included. And I'm a big, you get more with honey than vinegar person, for sure. So I know I'm a good collaborator. But at this point, when there's a blatant outright lie and leaders don't call it out, and we haven't for a long time, I mean, it has to stop. Like, and transparency is so important. And I know transparency you can actually see is really important. And there's been a lot of obfuscation, and there's been a lot of you know, backdoor stuff, and you know, I'm all for transparency, and I'm all for, you know, honest discussions, and I'm all for working together and you know, kumbaya, and you know, and we're all working for the same thing. I mean, not only are we working for the betterment of the school, we're working for the betterment of the town. Like, we understand that the school matters to the whole town, but we have this budget, you know, and it's just one pie, and we have to share it, and we feel the pressure. Like, we know that if we take more of the pie, this section gets less of the pie. Like, we know that. I mean, we've been living that reality for years, cutting our budget and cutting our budget and cutting our budget, and we have a hard stop now, and I can't, to not have had an honest budget conversation, because we may or may not have all the facts. And I thought we did have all the facts, but then when I hear a lie like this, it makes me doubt every single other thing that's happened along the way. And as a leader as an elected leader, I feel I have an obligation to say, like, I can't take it anymore, and I hope that you guys can't either, and I hope that I'm a role model for students, and like, you understand that you can't lie. I mean, you certainly can say you look good tonight, or I'm busy, you know, whatever, but you can't lie like this and not. And John, I get your opinion, and I know you're coming at things from a lawyer, but I have to respectfully disagree with much of what you said, and I'm sorry that I'm saying this, but I feel passionate that I'm in the right to sort of say what I'm saying as an individual and also as the person who went there and saw this. And, you know, I saw the same thing Amy saw, like when Mr. Grisham made that motion, and all of a sudden there was a vote to second it, and then all of a sudden, you know, Danielle, like everyone sort of had this new sense of sort of pride in their
Unanimity.
right? And they sort of just like all of a sudden sort of like felt their power, and they exerted it, and they did it in unison, and it was a beautiful thing because we haven't seen that a lot with the select board, and you know, I know we try really hard to come to consensus, and I know we don't always agree, you know, so we have this sort of some of the same issues, but at the end of the day, like, abstaining was not leading, and lying about why you're abstaining was even worse to me, and I'm done with saying whatever I have to say.
All right, thank you. So I do want to move on. Right?
Can I add
Yeah,
a couple
go.
of things? Just, and again, you know, Suzanne, I hear what you're saying, you know, and just to be clear, I'm not questioning what you said or that you said it in your individual capacity. I acknowledge that, and so, you know, have at it. I mean, I really didn't have any issue with what you said. And I think my issue is more, you know, you did it in your individual capacity, you signed it as an individual, not as a school committee member, yet, you know, here we are, we're still talking about it here on the school committee. So, you know, now it's been brought here. So I wasn't there, I didn't hear it directly, you know, and I'm not getting into interpretations of what we think the chair said. You know, people hear things differently. You know, I'm not here to debate what she meant. That's not on me to figure that out. So I'll leave it at that. But now that it's here, you know, I think it's fair to call into question or ask questions about how it's affecting the school committee. So again, you could say whatever you want. Again, I have no problem with that whatsoever. You know, exercise your First Amendment right, you know, as much as you want and say what you want. I don't have a problem with that. It's just when it kind of comes back and the blowback's on us, and then we have to deal with the repercussions. That's when I felt I had to say something. So just to clarify.
So
So let's just go on for another minute, and then we're going to move forward.
I encourage you to watch the meeting for sure, because you should
Oh,
watch it.
I did watch it.
Oh, okay, so you're still, okay. And also, we shouldn't worry about the blowback, okay? So it does affect the school committee, and that's why I brought it here. It affects the school committee. It affects the whole town because there's a problem here there's a problem. And we shouldn't worry about the blowback. We didn't do anything. She should be worried about the blowback, not us. The blowback is not on us. And sorry, Glenn.
No.
No, but to be fair, this would have been my committee comment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This would have been my committee comment
So-
anyway.
So we're going to move forward. I do want to say to the entire committee, I really appreciate everybody keeping it within the bounds of what we were guided to do by council and by the Ethics Commission of the Commonwealth. I think debate is good. I think this kind of debate shows the community you can have agreements and disagreements, yet still come together to do what we need to do every time we get together on the school committee. So I very much appreciate everybody's comment. With that, I understand that Ms. O'Connor has something to add.
Oh.
This is really sad about Karen. I tell you, it was 12 and a half years ago that we sat in this building and watching this really crazy school committee meeting where the school committee was working to install the high school principal as a second superintendent or a concurrent superintendent. It was just a wild meeting that really galvanized the two of us to run for school committee. And so we've been here for 12 years, and I was thinking about it today. Since Karen has been sitting on this committee, I don't think that there is one person on the leadership team who, this is blinking, I don't think there's one person on the leadership team who is the same, including our superintendent, because you were part of hiring her. Our business manager, our special education, our director of teaching and learning, we've had a few. Even all of our principals and vice principals have changed over. You have been through a lot.
God, when you put it that way,
I
like,
know.
And it was, like, when I stopped to think about it, it was a lot, and you've been part of a really important piece of what the school committee does, which is providing stability and leadership. And I just want to tell you that we all appreciate you. I know I've said this before, and for people who are young, this isn't going to resonate at all, but I always say that Karen is like E.F. Hutton, and when she talks, everybody listens. You don't pipe up all the time, but when you do, and I know that through the years, you consistently are somebody who I quote, like, well, when Karen said, so you are going to be missed
Thank you.
by all of us. We have a little something.
Aw.
As well. Hold on.
Look at this now.
We have a little something for you,
Oh,
for your swamp stuff, for your.
I will miss you guys too. I was thinking about it as well, and I remember when someone had asked me to maybe think about running for school committee and would I consider it, and I was like, I don't know, what is that, and I was thinking about it, and then I heard, oh, Amy O'Connor's running. I knew you, but I didn't know you well, and I called you, and I said, I heard you're running for school committee, and you said, I am. Want to run with me? And I was like, I think I might. And that was that. And so, wow, it has been a long time. And a lot's happened. I'm very proud. And I am very thankful to everybody on the committee, past and present. And you guys have all been fantastic for so many different reasons. And Pam's not here, but to Pam too, because she made this job like worth it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure that Jason, you will continue that. And it's kind of amazing that so many of us have been here for so long. And I'd give a shout out to Ted and Gargi too, because they were here for a long time. But Suzanne, you were someone I didn't know, but then you came on and I was like, well, I don't know about this person. And so quickly, I realized how smart you are and how dedicated, and not just dedicated in thought, but like in action, and the way you approach like the school building committee. You were such the right person for
wait,
that.
you have to stop. We're supposed to be vetting
Right.
you.
I'm sorry, but I'm just so proud of all of you, and it makes me happy. I mean, I was like ready to be off the board, but now that it's happening, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss it, but thank
You've
you guys
accomplished
so
a
much.
lot.
I think that you have been so tenacious through negotiations and budgeting that it's been super fun to watch, and it's also been super fun to learn from you, because your passion for both those things has been like so great for this district, and that's like it's the most fun watching you argue.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy your retirement.
Yes, I know.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
I agree with Amy that, when you do speak, the words carry an awful lot of weight. So thank you. All right.
So Glenn, can I just,
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, John.
just one more comment for Karen. So Karen was actually the first person who called me up after I got elected. So I can't believe I'm the newbie at 5 years.
Oh my God.
But Karen was the first one to call me up and, welcome me aboard, and so I always appreciated that. And just to echo what was said about your negotiation skills. I mean, sometimes it was like, all right, we're just going to wait in the side room and send Karen in, finish this deal. And no, I learned a lot, so I'm truly appreciative.
Thank you.
All right, Karen, thank you. All right, reports and discussions. Jason, you're up.
All right. Thank you. So we touched on this already, but I wanted to say congratulations to our seniors. And obviously, we talked about Sam and Noel and Harvard and Clemson. We have SCAD in the house over here. And the acceptances are just so impressive. And I'm one of those people that, it's about fit. It doesn't mean if you get accepted to whatever school you think is the top rated, it's about where you should go in the right fit. But either way, the list is impressive. So we have right now Dartmouth, Tufts, Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, BC, UMass, Oregon, Wentworth, and so many more. It's just impressive. And again, it doesn't mean that's the right fit for everybody, but I just think it says a lot about our school system, the high school, to Sam's point about class rank, about going to the 4.0 GPA. I'm really proud of everybody, the whole entire class. And follow that Swamp 25 decisions on Instagram, because I think I told you one of my favorite things is to check the Swamp Instagram, and then I go to like the prep or other places to compare, and I feel like we're winning. So, in more good news, we have the Hall of Fame class of 2025 was named. So the Swampscott High School Athletic Hall of Fame class the committee met Tuesday, April 8th. And I just wanted to say congratulations to the people who are going to be inducted. I will say I was asked to be on the committee because the late, great Arthur O'Neill passed away, and he was on there forever. He was like a father to me, and so it was sort of a special thing to be on the committee. So congratulations to Lindsay Walsh, the 2006 cross-country team, Rom Emmons, Peter Hale, Matt Mahoney, John Bolio, Walter Costello, Brendan Gardner, Kara Gilberg, Jeff January, Lizzie Moran, and again, like I said, the great Arthur O'Neill. So the induction ceremony will be Thursday, September 11th at Tedesco, and I just think it's some happy news.
I don't know about you guys, I think this is the first time that this is reported to the school committee.
Yeah.
I don't think
Probably because I'm on the committee.
I was going to say,
I don't think-
I'm not even sure I really knew that there was a Hall of Fame, so,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's
but thanks for bringing that.
I got to learn about the Hall of Fame when this building opened. There was I wish I could remember his name, an older gentleman that was on a 50s football team, right? And he was helping me take all the plaques out of a box and hang them on the. It was so much fun. I mean, he had so many stories, but they had all the Hall of Fame plaques too. Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool
I'm glad to
experience.
see it. Thanks
Yeah,
for bringing
nice
it
to meet
up.
you. Thank you.
We had the first METCO meet and greet for elementary and middle school students and families on April 3rd at 10 a.m. We met at SES. Mr. Bailey and Ms. Lynch presented and welcomed families. SES and SMS counselors attended. SES and SMS admin attended. Officer Wilson was there. It was really nice to see the families. We had 3 families attend, a kindergartner, first grader, and an incoming 6th grader. I got to meet them. It was nice. I actually, in 1987, my family was a host family, so Bricky Perryman, and so it was sort of nice to sort of talk about those things and how committed we are as a town that it's been this long, and how our core values and how committed we are to inclusivity. And I just think it was nice to meet everybody. The family seemed excited to see the school and the staff, and then they got a tour afterwards. Obviously, the tour of the elementary school. It was a bummer for the 6th grader to then come to the middle school, but it was nice. It was really nice. Yeah, exactly. But I think they felt positive vibes, and I think that, our kids, we had some interviews happening in the building, and one of the people interviewing said to me that, the kids walking by and were so friendly and saying hi and looking at them in the eye, and I think it says a lot about, I think the families that were there felt the same thing. Our kids are very welcoming. The only time I tell them to be rude is to not let anybody in the front door or the back door. So, yeah, they do a good job. And then lastly, I have, John, if you can put the fee clubs and athletic fee proposal.
Yep. Do you want to talk about the field trip? So that's number B on your report, just so that we can let the educators go home.
Okay.
Oh.
So, okay,
I want to go to the play.
go ahead. Is it, yeah?
Very quickly,
I'm sorry, Lisa, can you? Thank you.
yeah, thank you. I'm trying to want to see my students in their play. So, hi, I'm Lisa Green, and this is Amber, mom, and we're the co-advisors for the freshman class. And we're really trying to, since COVID, we're following in the line of other class advisors where we want kids to have a chance to have a day to have fun. So it's not just about the prom, junior and senior year, that we're doing other things. So the kids want to go to Canby Lake Park, which is out of state. The principal gave the thumbs up for June 6th because it's after the MCAS and it's before, right before the finals. It's on a Friday. They said go for it. So we just have to get your blessing to let us take the bus to New Hampshire. We'll probably leave school around 8:30. We'll get back. The buses will pick us up at 5. And it should be a great day. And we have funding, so if kids can't afford it, we've already arranged and have already conveyed to them that we'll make it happen. So no one's left out. But the price of the tickets will it's like $29 plus the bus.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions at all?
Is there a plan for kids that don't want to go?
Yeah, I mean, they'll just come into school. I mean, they'll do their thing. I think there'll be, my guess is that there'll be like 100 kids who go.
It's so fun because usually all these bonding activities happen so much later.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. And while I'm here, a quick plug. We're trying to do a touch-a-truck for the whole community. And I'm trying to get the freshmen to realize, it's not just about raising money for yourself, but it's for other things. So they're raising money for SORA and for the Anchor Food Pantry on May 17th. But we are struggling to get commitments from fire, EMT, we've been calling, we've been harassing them. The kids have been calling and harassing. So if anyone out there, because you're the leaders in the community.
We've got somebody right there, yeah.
Okay, so, right. So we've called and we just need confirmation that you'll bring a truck because we think it'll be great for kids and we're going to have our students volunteer and do face painting. And we just think it sends a really great message that we're not just in it for ourselves, we're in it for the community. It's such a great happening for young kids. So if we can get our fire trucks, our EMTs, anybody who owns construction, who wants to bring a truck so kids can touch between 10 and 1, call us. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wait, May 17th?
Yeah, May 17th from 10 to 1.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do. Yeah, can someone please make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye, all those opposed? You are approved. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Jason, it's out to you.
All right. So this is our clubs, driver's ed, and athletic fee updates. It's just loading on the screen, I think. We're going to go over our club participation, fee structure of clubs, driver's ed, and sort of a preliminary look at athletics. I know there's further questions about the athletic budget that Ms. Wolf will come in and answer later, but this is solely about the fees.
Okay.
Okay? Is it?
It's not cooperating. Sorry.
Okay.
Try one more time.
Do you want me to talk a little while it pulls
Yeah,
up?
you
Okay.
can, okay.
So right now, at the high school, there are 16 clubs, give or take. I think some clubs are added at different times of year or different years, available for students. There's a total of about 700 students involved in clubs. At SMS, there's about 175 students that participate in clubs. Again, there's 8 of them. It depends on the year. This is not inclusive of sort of the after-school program, PTO. This is just through the school. Okay, so these are where we have to pay people stipends to run those clubs. Okay. John, if you can, we're on slide 4. So currently, at the high school, each club is $50 per club for student, but that hasn't been enforced. So it seems as though 1 or 2 clubs are having the kids pay, and nobody else is, and it just hasn't been enforced. So that it's tough to tell. I think each year it's sort of diminished. I think some clubs are saying, well, they're not paying, so why am I making the kids pay? I'm the bad guy here. So really, we have to enforce that either way. At SMS, we don't charge anything. Okay, and I linked, if you want me to go over afterwards, the club fees of other districts as well. So I'm proposing that the high school go from $50 to $75 per club, and the middle school go from $0 to $25 per club. That is, if we enforce it, that's a potential revenue of $55,000, which is significant. If all the same kids continue, and obviously we'll still, if a kid can't do it for financial reasons, we'll help them, just like we do for sports. We don't want to turn anybody away, But again, we're paying all the stipends for people to run the clubs. We need to
Yeah.
figure out a way to,
Right.
to fund that.
Is there, similar to the athletic fees, is there gonna be a cap? So if someone does 3 clubs or,
I don't think I didn't talk about a cap, just because even if you did 3 clubs, it's not,
okay,
it doesn't
It's not
come
even
close
one
to athletics.
sport, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, athletics is at
Is
4.
it, are the clubs like robotics and theater, the ones that sort of go every day? They'll pay this, but then on top of it, they'll pay whatever that organization needs to run? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm sure robotics and, I mean,
No, they do fundraising.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, everyone's gonna pay this fee, but on top of this fee, the robotics team or whoever is doing stuff every day, obviously is getting more bang for their buck, so I guess
Yeah.
they have to fundraise for the rest of their money. It's not like they're gonna pay an increased fee and then not fundraise.
right.
Right, they're gonna have to fundraise, especially
Right.
if they, we love that they're making states and all these things, it just comes with added
Right,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
Costs.
expense. Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
That's a lot of money,
yeah, that's,
Essentially,
that
Yes.
could pay a lot of stipends.
yes.
yes.
Yeah, and just to the community, it is, yeah, I know there are some districts out there who don't charge, and we, as you said, basically, we're not been charging at all. It's just the unfortunate reality of where we are. And, we want everyone to participate, so I'm very happy to hear that there is, financial considerations in case there is a challenge. And just so the community knows, we don't take this step lightly, but it is just something that we need to do in the year 2025.
What about other towns? Are there towns that do this?
So if we go back, hold on 1 second, so the club fees for other towns, we have, let's see,
Oh, other districts, club fees.
yep. So it ranges, so Linfield is $300 a year per year, sorry. Andover's $50 per club is the high school cost. North Reading's $250 per year. Marblehead's $140 per year. Wakefield's $250, and then the rest, Beverly, Danvers, Gloucester, Ipswich are zero. The middle school cost is definitely, there's a few that are zero, but then we have Danvers $75 per club, Gloucester $25 per club, Linfield's $300 a year at the middle school level, Marblehead's $140 a year per level, so North Reading's $200 a year per level, so it does vary,
Yeah,
but we're not out of whack here.
and the per year, is that like, it's like a user fee, you pay $300 and you can join 10 clubs?
Any club you want.
Okay, because one of the things that I did hear, particularly when the robotics instructors were here, and I'm embarrassed that I don't remember their names, they were talking about wanting to make sure that it isn't, that it doesn't, it's not a barrier to entry, and that, some kids will come, a couple times, and some kids will come a lot. So I just, if there's a way that the teachers can sort of be mindful of that, or partners in helping us figure out how this works and how, the success of it, and,
You're worried that they're gonna lose kids.
yeah, we don't want them to lose.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fact, but that's why we're trying to make it clear that if anybody needs our help, we're there. We're not gonna turn anybody away.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, when just the
So just so
Just a
that.
discussion about it.
Yeah, just so that, like, at the beginning of every year, whatever teachers have these stipends, that they just know, what the goal is.
Yes.
And but also that we're all concerned, and
Yeah.
we don't wanna prevent anybody from going.
Yeah, I think a lot of the clubs need things too. So,
Yeah.
I think I don't want to speak for everybody that's running a club, but I think they're actually thankful that we're going to have some revenue to maybe buy band uniforms
will
or,
all this go into a club revolving fund for teachers to buy things out of? Or coaches, or club advisors?
Goes in, yeah, we have a club fee.
Yeah, I thought so.
Great.
How about, who's gonna be responsible for making sure that just the stipended people are gonna make sure?
so the principals, I already talked to Ms. Otto about next year, she's going to reach out to all the people running clubs, make sure that it's clear to the students that there's a cost, and then part of they're getting a stipend, part of the job is to make sure that the fees are being paid.
And like the robotics, the kids that come and go,
I was gonna say, you're gonna have to maintain
You
a
know-
little bookkeeping now.
Yeah, like, how
in the
people
club.
join clubs mid-year, or, juniors all of a sudden in the middle of junior year, they're like, I need some stuff on my resume.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do think,
No, I'm just
it's a
like,
reasonable fee
Yeah.
for the amount they
I
get.
agree. I just
Yeah.
feel like you just got to make sure it's
Yes.
even across the board. Like, everyone that's in a club is paying the fee or has a waiver,
Yeah.
It just gets weird if you're only in it for half a year.
Well, that's why I think I was wondering of like the districts, like Linfield, Marblehead, North Reading, like if those are just for the kids who are in clubs, or if it is like a
Do they make
a
everybody
user fee
pay a
that everybody
flat fee?
pays. I'd be curious to know, because I seem to recall that somewhere and I don't know where.
That everybody pays a flat.
Like it was a
40
mandatory
Oh.
fee for
Yeah.
everybody?
I mean,
I
And
mean,
then
I'm
you
sure it's
just did-
pretty sure it's public education. I don't think you can do that, can you?
Well, yeah, I don't think so, but I just remember seeing that somewhere, and obviously that feeds into all of those extracurricular things that, that are the first to get cut when we have cuts.
I don't know how I hear what you're saying, I just don't understand, I don't know
I don't
how
know
we
how you
would
do that.
enforce that.
But it
Everybody
would-
has to pay even if you're not participating, I think.
But, so I'd just be curious to know how they, like, at these, that have these annual fees, how they manage that.
Okay, I can look into that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm kind of curious about that myself.
Because, yeah, obviously you can't,
Right.
you can't charge somebody in a public school especially to,
Yeah.
for something that they don't use.
Yeah, just as much as we talk about equity, that seems
Yeah,
Right.
dicey, but I'll definitely find out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right.
Driver's ed. So this one, driver's ed, the current cost of driver's ed is $725. We have about $33,000 in the account left, but we are losing money, $10,000 a year on average, between the car, the insurance, gas.
And we just increased this like a year or two ago, right?
There was a 3-year plan.
3-year plan, right?
Oh,
And,
okay.
yeah.
Because we also had to
This is the
increase,
third year. of the-
yeah, we also had to increase the stipend because it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right, I remember, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we can't lose money on this.
Right.
No.
We have to at least be flat.
So gas and lease fees have increased, as you know. The students taking the test, that's $132. And other local organizations, you have Marblehead Auto School, that's already at $1,320. Tanner City and Peabody is over $1,000. And then Al Dash is $980 plus fees. Okay.
So what are we suggesting?
Next slide, John.
Oops, sorry.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. So we're suggesting $900 for Swampscott High School students, a $300 deposit at registration, a $45 charge for no-show or late fees, because I guess that happens quite a bit. $1,000 for non-Swampscott High School students. So-
Do we get that? Do we get kids coming in from other?
Well, like from St. John's and the prep.
Like
Well, I mean,
Swampscott.
well, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter did it when she was at Landmark. She came here.
Okay.
Student testing rate, we want to raise the student testing fee from $132 to $150. And again, depending on the number of students who participate, there's currently 55, that's almost $50,000. And it would depend on the year. There were some years is
Right.
significantly less,
Not
but
as
right now we're at 55. So
And do we think that would cover the,
I think it makes it flat, right? Is it?
It should.
yeah, I mean, like.
Depending on how many
Yeah,
kids, yeah.
it seems to me like this is something that we're not looking to make a profit on.
No.
We're just looking to help
Break
kids get their
Yeah.
license.
Yeah.
Cheryl, are you okay with these fees? Are they in line with where they kind of need to be?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any comment from anybody?
I think the car alone,
I like the gift at the top.
Miss Otto made me do that. She wanted to make it,
It's a great service and really
Right.
convenient, like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
to have it at school.
Right.
but we can't subsidize that.
No, it's got to be as
Oh,
close
yeah,
to
no,
break
I
even as
100%
possible.
agree. It should be breaking even.
Right. Okay, great.
all right, let's go to athletics. So-
So I will, and this will kick in for next year?
That's,
So I just, I asked the question just because I want to make sure that, when FinCom and people are asking us about our budget, that we've increased fees and we're talking about, I mean, right there, that this sounds like an increase of do the math, not 100,000.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that something we take out of our 660 request? Or, I mean, no.
What we're trying to do, and to your point, is, we've been challenged to do this. So we're doing it, right? We're trying to make ourselves,
Well, I mean, to be fair, we do this even without
Right.
being challenged to do it.
right. But,
Right.
again, it's not like the driver's ed, we're kind of repeating it here, but we can't lose money on this. We don't want to make money, but it needs to be,
I mean, I think the car alone is
yeah.
an issue. So,
I would say, yeah, next year, let's see if we realize that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
gets baked in
Yep,
Right,
going forward.
right.
okay.
Okay.
So the current structure of sports in Swampscott, we have the high school is $400 per sport. The family cap is $2,000 a year. So essentially, the sixth sport is free. So if you have 2 kids in the high school, both playing a sport every season, that sixth sport is free. Free and reduced lunch qualification is no fee. Hardship waivers are available. That's for the high school. At the middle school, it's $225 per sport. This doesn't count to the family cap. Free and reduced lunch qualifications, again, there's no fee, and again, hardship waivers are available. You can see the revenue and the ticket revenue and the fee
What's the
revenue.
difference between a fee revenue and a user fee revenue?
I think you just added both.
I think, I just added them together. Sorry, I meant to say.
Oh, that's a
yeah.
total.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep,
Sorry about
that
that.
looks right.
Okay.
And do we, I know that Ms. Wolf is gonna report on it, but that $351,000, how does that, have we inched closer to our 50% mark?
Closer.
Okay,
So the fee increase we're proposing, I'm giving you 2 options to think about. I think they're both interesting. I wanted to see what everybody thought. So option 1 is increasing the high school to $490 per sport. The $2,450 is the family cap with the 6th sport being free, or we could go to $2,940, which is the 7th sport free, which is something to consider for families who have 3 kids at the high school. Again, free lunch is a waived athletic fee, reduced lunch is 30% discount.
So can I just ask a question? We don't have that anymore, right? Because
Well,
doesn't everyone eat?
People still have to,
They
they
fill it
don't
out.
fill it out because now that we have free lunch, but it would help us if they did.
Well, and so there are a fair number of families in Swampscott that are actually certified directly through the state because they receive other
Right.
Other
levels
services.
of benefits. And so we have a list of all the ones that are directly certified.
Right.
And then if somebody applies for financial assistance and they're not on that list, we just send them the free and reduced form and
Right.
they fill that out.
Yeah.
And it's
Are
just
we,
like
and
that.
I know this has been a problem in the past, are you receiving at least a high majority of those forms back?
When we send them out, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Doesn't that free and reduced lunch thing go home in the packet at the beginning of the year? Or it's like,
Yeah, it's part of,
I mean, it probably should have a special note on it, it's just saying, this is important if you want a waiver at any point
Right.
during the year to
Mhm.
fill this out or something.
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Just to tag it with like a Post-it or something.
I think what happened, obviously, the unintended consequence of free lunch is that
Right.
people like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Everybody stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
But once they realize they need it for a
Yes.
reason.
I mean, I
Yes.
think it's just like worth putting something on that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just-
Absolutely.
Just ping people about
Mhm.
that.
Jason, can I just ask a quick question? On the driver ed thing, you said it was running a $10,000 deficit. Is there a deficit being run here prompting this fee increase? I'm just trying to
Oh,
understand.
yeah.
No.
We pay 50% of it,
Right.
We
Well,
try to, that's the
or we're
goal.
close to it.
So is there a dollar amount that we need to make up here? I guess going from 400 to 490, what gap are we trying to close here, I guess?
I think we're trying to get closer to that 50-50 split.
Closer to 50/50, okay.
Right.
So as you can see, 7 families hit the cap this year.
That's it, huh?
Yeah. Over the middle school, we have 275, option 1 is $275 per sport. The cap, again, still does not apply. Free lunch, reduced.
And what sports are at the middle school? I know there's field hockey.
We have field hockey, we have cross country. Cross country, we have we are a machine in cross country. We have like
Yeah.
110 kids show up. We have middle school basketball, boys and girls, and then we have spring track. And it's funny because people ask about adding more sports at the middle school. The issue is that, you know, so many kids play town and club, and then to throw in a third sport just is almost like.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? So if a 7th and 8th grader is moved up to a junior varsity team,
They pay the JV team.
what do they pay? They pay the high school rate or the middle school rate?
High school rate.
Okay.
So, option 2 is going a little bit less, going to $450 a sport at the high school. Family cap would be $2,250 for the 6th sport free, or you consider the 7th sports free would be $2,700. Same things as far as the reduced free lunch and reduced fee. Middle school would go from $225 to $275, in the same situation. So again, 7 families hit the cap. We had 836 high school athletes, 232 middle school athletes. And you're looking at, you know, getting closer to that 50%, 440. Not as much as option 1, but it might be more palpable to sort of ease into it.
Question, do other towns around, you know, our 10 towns, do they A, have a cap, and does that cap represent like a 6th sport free?
So, let me just pull up, because I'm back on the first slide I had. Nothing about the cap, sorry. I have the district fees. I'm not sure about their caps. So, fees in Andover, just, John, I don't know if you can go back to the first slide. In the bottom right, there was other districts. But Andover for the high school is $450 for the year.
The first slide?
The first slide of athletics, sorry.
Oh.
I see clubs.
So, next one.
Eight.
And on the bottom right, see it says yes, right in there.
Sorry, if you hit that.
So Andover High is $450 for the year. Beverly's has a tiered system per sport. Danvers is tiered system per sport. Same with Gloucester. Ipswich is $650 for the year. Linfield's $600 for the year. Marblehead starts at $540 and decreases with each sport. North Reading's $425 and decreases with each sport. Newburyport's $450, but it's tiered as well. Stoneham's $300 per sport. Middle school's a little bit wider of a range. You have $70 per sport in Andover, $105 in Beverly, $100 in Danvers, $200 to $25 depending on the sport in Gloucester, $75 per sport in Ipswich, only $30 per sport in Linfield, and then Marblehead is $260 and it decreases with each sport. North Reading's tiered as well, $425, it's down to $200. Newburyport's $100 per sport, Stoneham $300 per sport, and Wakefield $140. Again, it's a range, it really is.
Look, I mean, I think we've heard from the leadership in our district consistently that in many cases, these, you know, between athletics and clubs, that this is what gets kids to school. And the downside is when we are, you know, in negotiations with the town and we're looking at a $600,000 difference, we know that this is the pain point where if you have to start paring things down to only what you need, that unfortunately these are the things that get earmarked. So, you know, to me, this feels like this is how we make sure that these things don't get touched.
I think it's important to know, and I've talked about this before, that, I mean, when you look at youth athletic fees, and I say this just because I have 3 young boys, that it's like, you know, Little League's $300 or whatever it is. Basketball's $300, and it's twice a week in a game, and that's the fee. And you know, when you're playing a high school sport, if you're a varsity athlete, you're getting not a volunteer dad or mom. You're getting real coaching, and you're getting 6 days a week. So I think that's something to consider too. That's all.
So, I'll say this, I am in favor of these fees going up. And I don't know how to identify this, but what I'm not comfortable with is, for example, you know, we've got 140 kids who paid, $400 a person this year to be on the track team, and they don't have merely the coaching staff that other teams that maybe aren't paying as much money into it are getting. There's a lot of downtime, and there is a condemned track. Now, I know that these fees don't pay for that track, but I think, I had a parent contact me about this, and I think it's really legitimate that you've got 100 kids at $400 a pop. That is a lot of money to not have the kind of equity that the football team has.
So I
So
completely,
that's a different conversation, I recognize it.
okay. So I completely agree. It is an absolute different conversation, and we need to have that conversation. Absolutely. That was part of the email that we sent regarding when the athletic director comes to us with some specific data which we've never seen. And I think it's really important to do that. I just want to,
I don't want to get bogged down in
yeah,
weeds,
I
so
again,
appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Ms. Stella, can you kind of weigh in here on, I personally think that jumping up $90 is a little much, but I like having the sixth sport free. I just think it's, again, most families don't have 3 kids, most families have 2 kids, and I'd like to, if we could, maintain that, and then maybe can potentially next year jumping up to that $490. But that's just me. What's your thought just on the whole fee structure?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think, especially in light of the positive vote from the select board,
Yeah.
in regards to our budget, and that we don't feel that same level of pressure, at least at this point, to be trying to offset costs elsewhere. And I do think at this point in time, it makes sense just to go with option 2, to give us some additional room, shall we need it in the future with athletic fees. And I do think that will, obviously drive some additional revenue and continue to build us towards that 50% offset. And like I said, I think, we are already raising other fees as well, too, that many parents are probably maybe paying club fees and athletic fees and driver's ed fees, so I am cognizant of that as well.
But to be fair, like if we didn't have driver's ed, they'd be paying more fees
Right.
at Old Bash or at Marblehead.
Sure.
They'd have to travel to those places.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we're gonna be stricter about getting club fees.
Right,
I mean,
yeah,
there's
that's
plenty of
true.
kids that do sports and clubs, so now we're sort of hitting them on both ends. Like, I'd be more comfortable
Yeah, I mean,
doing a
look,
lower,
I know both of you
yeah.
are in this situation where you're both on teams and you're both attending clubs. And so I guess here's one of my questions. For example, Model UN, there is a cost for that. It's it's like $250 maybe. Does this mean that they don't pay those fees, or they
Is that
do?
a regular club or is that a different
I don't know.
activity?
I think that's an interesting question. To me, that's a different thing. It's like doing DACA, it's doing the.
DECA.
Excuse me. That's just.
That's just something a little.
Yeah,
Right.
DECA's
All
in the
right.
news.
I do that every time.
Identify
That's
the
that's a little different.
Well,
Even
yeah.
like tech ninjas, I don't see us charging kids who
Yeah,
would
like
help
the-
us.
That's like
You
a
know.
class.
Right,
Yeah,
so,
I think if we parse out those ones that are different.
yeah.
Is it okay if I add something? I
Absolutely.
wanted to kind of add to your point because I was like, while you were going through this, I was thinking of a lot of kids who are like 3-season athletes and then they're also in 2 or 3 clubs.
Yeah.
And I do think that is, and I understand that you need the money, but it is a lot of money to be
Yeah.
asking, and you kind of are hitting them from both sides. And I honestly think when push comes to shove, they'll give up the club versus the sport if they can't like afford to do it all, and then you're losing club.
So that's a really
So
interesting
could the
point.
cap include both sides?
I was gonna say, could we?
Well,
could
but
we
remember,
somehow
the
put a cap on
club,
that?
the club is nowhere near, it's,
The sixth sport. if you play 5 sports and then are in 3 clubs, you're not gonna reach the cap.
So if you're in 3 clubs, that's what, 70, you said
That's
$75?
$225.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would, you think that that would prevent people from, do you think, let me ask, do you, and I know that neither of you can speak to what everybody's doing. Do you think that that prevents people from going, or do you think that the number of kids who go and can pay can make up for the fact that not all kids can afford to do that?
Again,
I don't really know.
Yeah,
I would say that I do know like a lot of people, like you try out a club and then when they're like, you don't know if you're gonna like it or like I did Model UN, I had no idea what to expect, but
Yeah.
to walk in and they'd be like, wait, you gotta pay $75 first, would be a little bit of a,
okay.
like I'd be a little surprised.
So maybe you don't collect it the first week or the first month, you do it you do it in October, you do it in November or something, right, to give people a chance.
To see if
Like,
they.
you have to collect it by the
To see
middle
how
of
committed.
whatever season.
Yeah.
December.
I was
I'm
gonna
just
even
saying, like-
suggest, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, or just,
I was gonna suggest maybe even, instead of the 75 the first year, maybe have like a gradual, the first year it's
Enforce the 50.
45.
Enforce the
Enforce it.
50.
It's already 50, it's just
Okay,
not being
well,
enforced. And-
Let's just
Like,
try
it-
that.
So maybe just
enforce it,
enforce the
then,
50.
that way it's
And
not quite
get
the
people
shock.
Do you know,
Saying
Miss Della, how
something.
much we collect on those 50s? I would imagine not a lot. I
The
don't think,
only,
I don't think I've ever paid for a club.
the only club that was very good was drama. And they were actually very fastidious on collecting their fees. Unfortunately, they then saw that everyone else was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
We're like, well,
and-
why should we?
Right.
I-
And so I think the issue, just to come back to why this kind of like dropped off the radar, my understanding was during COVID, they stopped club fees, like no club fees, and people could be in clubs and during the pandemic, and then when they were coming back to school. And so I think people also got out of the habit of collecting them,
Yeah.
because there was that kind of pause.
Right,
It would be like if we went back to paid lunches.
right, exactly.
Right.
I agree, actually, with John. I think that's a really good point, though. Maybe we leave it at 50 for this year, next school year, but we enforce it, and we collect it, and see where we stand with that. And then if we have to raise the fees 26, 27, we can talk about that. But let's at least leave it where it is and enforce it, and collect that $50.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what that does for all of the,
Right.
helping pay all those stipends.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I would also say, I think it's a little bit different dynamic too, in that your teachers are running a club and they're the ones, pushing you to collect.
Right.
Whereas if you're a coach, that's coming from the athletic department, so it's not like you're hounding the kids for the money.
Right.
It's a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like as a teacher, you don't want to be.
the bill collector.
Like those,
I-
but also like those guys that were here for the robotics club, like they don't want to turn any kid away.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, it feels like there has to be a different mechanism so
So
that
maybe
the
they should be
teachers aren't.
turning in a roster and somebody else should be sending a payment notice or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's something for us to discuss. I agree. I think, you have the athletic department, you can't, it's just a different setup, to your point, Noel. I mean, clubs are different. Someone wants to, like you want to try it, right, before you pay it, and I completely agree with that. And to me, that will get more kids to potentially go out and try something. But I do think the enforcement of a teacher getting a small stipend is maybe a little uncomfortable. So maybe, you and your team can discuss maybe a better way to do that. But just back to everybody's point, I think we probably should stick, at least to the club side, stick with the $50 and just enforce it. And then, you guys can write the procedure and how you collect the dollars.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see at the end of the year, how much money did you really make?
Right.
And did you have a
you lose
drastic
kids?
drop?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that would help
Right,
you
because we don't want
evaluate.
to have a drop rate.
Right, you want to.
Not that much money, so, okay. So could we kind of agree here on the club stuff. Do we all want to just think about the athletic fees and then have another discussion in 2 weeks?
My gut
about
says
this?
to go to the 450, not to ramp up to 490 immediately.
I mean, I'm fine with that as well. Again,
I
I'd
don't
like
know
to
what
do,
other people think.
I'd like to go the 2250 and get the 6 sport free. Suzanne, what's your thought?
I'm conflicted a little bit. Hearing that there's a sliding scale for 1, 2, 3 sports makes me wonder if the first sport's more expensive. And then can you collect relatively same amount of money? I don't know, I was just trying to think like giving a break for someone, I don't know,
I mean, by having one number, it gives some people a break anyway. You know, like
Right.
when Kelly was here a few years ago, she noted that I think basketball was surprisingly one of the more expensive sports. And I would imagine, knowing nothing, that track is is
No, remember she said track was
Track
a
was
lot
super
because there's
expensive.
so many
This-
officials
yeah,
and there's
right,
multiple
yeah, in the s-
buses
In the spring
and
especially. the
longer,
track is
longer
very expensive.
competitions.
Okay.
Yeah, in the
Like,
spring.
I mean, I think
that's
I think we were always surprised, like what's an expensive sport and what
Or,
isn't. Like,
or
right.
cheer.
A javelin's very
But
expensive.
look, we'll come back to cheer, which is one of the most dangerous sports and has the least amount of coaches.
right.
And they're paying the same thing that the football players
Yeah,
are
once
paying.
again, we're not solving this problem, I guess, but.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, 450 sounds better to me. I'd rather have smaller increments.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Me too.
John?
Yeah, I think the smaller increment is definitely preferable, again, just, you know, as an adjustment period. Maybe it's a silly question, but is there an option to not raise fees at all, or is this, we have to do something here? Or we're gonna have a bigger problem if we don't.
I mean, you always have the option not to. I would say driver's ed must. The other, obviously, you've talked about club fees and keeping them the same anyway, so you don't have to raise the athletic fees, but just know that that comes at a cost to the appropriate budget.
You know, and we're fighting for every dollar right now with the town. I don't think that I feel like it's painful but responsible, particularly when we are so far apart on the budget, that we try to make change where we can.
I'd rather raise the fees than cut the sports.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather raise the fees than, you know, cut a men's and a women's team or whatever. I just,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I guess, you know, we kind of touched on this the last time we were talking about the track and 140 kids paying $400. And, you know, someone asked the question, it's like, where's all that money going? And I'll just reiterate on that point. So if we do raise it to $450, you know what I'm saying? Where's all the money going?
So just to that question, you're not the first, the second, or the third to raise that question. We have asked
Ms. Wolf.
Ms. Wolf to work with whomever she needs to work with to get us a real boatload of information about sports, athletics, gate fees, uniforms, just everything that, you know, people ask, right? And and Amy and I were talking, and I can't even fake an answer because
Yeah.
I've never even discussed it in
Right.
all my years here. So I think when Ms. Wolf comes, we'll have a really good understanding. This will be a great conversation about, you know, what is the actual cost of a sport? You know, we were talking, and how this kind of, the metamorphosis of this was the donation to the lacrosse helmets. And it was like $4,500, whatever the donation was, thank you for the donation, but that was only half. And yet, we've talked about cheer and just some of the injuries and the lack of coaching, and you know, we know nothing about some of this. I mean, you know, Jason and I were talking, I mean, I can tell you baseball, lacrosse, and sailing because my kids played, but that's a little while ago. But all I know is, yeah, you paid the bill, that's it. I don't know where the money goes. And so we are going to get a full accounting and a full understanding of just our athletic department, because we demand a full accounting of anything else.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point, is that we have a really good indication of all of the other money in our district.
Right.
And this is sort of like a bottom line number for us that I think we've got to dig into a little bit more
Right.
and not just be a bottom line number.
Right, and then also the flow of, and I don't want to go back to this, but even the flow of information, again, I'm going to go back to the track. Having us hear this kind of secondhand, and, oh, by the way, it's been terrible for 2 years, that's the other thing I want to talk about as well. But back to this, Karen, what do you think on this?
I mean, I think we have to do the driver's ed, it's all painful, right? I think the fees, it's almost like a pilot, right? We're trying it this year to see what happens. And if we're gonna raise the fees, then I would say the 450.
Okay. Do we need to vote on this, or is this something
Oh,
you
yeah.
you guys decide?
Yeah.
All right, so do we need 2 votes, one for driver's ed and one for athletic fees, or can we combine them?
Probably separate
I
because
do
there's a couple of
Okay.
different options.
So drivers at clubs and.
Yeah, so let's go back to the driver's ed. Can someone please
right.
make a motion to
Middle school, 0.
increase, can I just ask one question before we vote on this? So, the driver's ed is $900 for Swampscott high school students and the no-show fee. And it's only an extra $100 for those students who have chosen to go elsewhere. Should that fee be a little higher? I'm just asking, I'm not.
They still have to be Swampscott, or is this like people from
Anybody can come.
Lynn?
Be anywhere.
Everybody can come.
So should we bump that to $1,100?
So here's the thing. I think that we have to remember that these other companies are
That's
profit.
a really good point.
And
Thank
we're not looking to turn a profit. We're
Yeah.
looking to cover the costs.
Right,
This is a service.
okay. All right, I'm just throwing it up, that's it.
I have one clarifying question about the clubs, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna stick to enforcing the $50.
Yes.
Do we want to stick, that means the middle school club is still 0, or are you saying that we
No,
want to charge them $25?
That should go up, yeah, that should go.
Start the 25.
Start the 25,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
All right,
So,
so then, can someone please make a motion to accept the new driver's ed fees of, and I'll just read it here, $900 for Swampscott High School students, there's the deposit, the late fees, $1,000 for non-SHS students. The student testing will raise to $150. Can someone make a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Can someone second, please?
Second?
All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, it carries unanimously. Next.
So I would just say for that, let's just be sure that in a year's time, we look at it
Yes.
and make sure that that we are covering all costs.
Yep, right, if I could ask both Ms. Stella and Jason to just to put that.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It seems like we chat about it every
Yeah,
year anyways,
we
but let's
do.
make sure.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's tackle the club fees.
So I'll make the motion that we add a club fee at the middle school of $25 and that we enforce the club fee of $50 at the high school with no change, but with a change in procedure so that the individual teachers don't have to be money collectors.
Right.
Are we talking at all about the clubs that are we differentiating clubs, like so Model UN paying $250? I mean,
I feel like they shouldn't have to pay an extra $75 if you're already paying $250. That seems cost prohibitive.
yeah, I'm just wondering.
Where's that
So
line?
like, think about it, so if when you go to that Model UN, you're paying for your hotel.
No, but I'm saying
No, that $250 is going to another organization. Like, they pay Swampscott, but Swampscott is then in turn taking that pocket, so that's not,
It's going to Boston, which is a convention in Boston where you stay at the Prudential and go
Right,
to a
right.
conference.
So that's
but we're
not, so
still-
you're not saying that's your fee to join Model N, that's just
No,
something
if you want to go on the trip,
conference.
it
Okay.
costs the trip.
Like, I thought you were saying
so
Model
there
N
is
collects
still,
200 for-
there are still 4, or I think it was even more adults that we pay to go to Model UN with them.
Right.
And, yeah, I think I saw DECA in there. I didn't realize that DECA doesn't have a fee. But I would imagine that there's
There's definitely an added fee to go
to
to
go.
states, and then if you actually ever go beyond that, you have to pay for that as well.
Right, but like Model UN, I mean, you only go a few times, and then you have the trip, and then it's over for the year.
Right.
It's not like a year-round thing.
So tell me about robotics.
So it's different. And I think whatever the vote should be for you guys, it should exclude whatever fee there is in addition for like
Because
trips.
you guys have huge costs for your trips.
Yeah, so robotics is
Yeah.
different in that there's the cost to actually sign up for like the competition is
Yeah.
a couple grand by itself.
Yep,
And then if you advance to the next level, it's another $4,000. But that's for the team again. And then like for whatever the cost for facilities may be, like if you're for getting a hotel, is going to depend on the event and like what's available at the time.
and do the kids bear that, or?
Yeah, so the
okay.
kids, whoever's attending bears that individually.
So, how
But again, you don't know like at the beginning of the year what you're gonna.
Or how successful you're gonna be.
I don't think,
But this whole point of having, club fees is to keep the revolving funds so that we can pay the stipends for the robotics teachers. And if we get enough, pay for the teachers that are chaperoning
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean, it's sort of more like that, or, I mean, it's never gonna raise enough to pay for robotics.
I do think that
Material.
even with like the grant, for example, that we got this year from Mr. Ford and that organization, like even outside of that, I think that it is necessary to have these be enforced simply because of the amount of time that the mentors are putting in. Like
Yeah.
I know during build season, like Mr. Wildman and Mr. Crocker were staying here with us until like 8 p.m. at night sometimes, after being here teaching at school all day.
Yeah,
And this is like consecutive days, consecutive weeks at a time. Like I can't really imagine, every
Right.
teacher for every club doing that. So I think it is necessary to have those be enforced. But as far as like the trips go, I don't know, to be honest.
yeah,
So just across the board, $50
Yeah.
for clubs.
Yeah.
And then everything else is just what the clubs raise or what they need or fundraise or
yeah,
get grants for.
jump off that bridge when we get to it.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think,
All right.
we can't think of all the,
So it'll be a lot cleaner.
Right. Can someone just make the motion again to start again?
Okay, so I make the motion to enforce the $50 fee at the high school.
Yep.
Put a $25 fee at the middle school, and set up a format so that the teachers are not bill collectors.
Great. Can someone second that?
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? It passes unanimously. And then lastly, go over here.
So I'll make the motion that we increase the high school sports to $450.
Okay, with a family cap at 2025?
So the option 2, as presented by Mr. Kalishman.
Second.
All right, but just again, to be clear, we're going to go with the family cap at 2250, so the sixth sport is free. I'm sorry.
Okay, oh, I see, because
Yeah.
there are 2 options here. Yeah, yes, the lower cap.
Great. Can someone second that?
Second?
All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? It passes unanimously. All right. Thank you.
And we didn't change the middle school fee,
One more time?
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
No, we went from 225 to 275.
Oh,
I mean, I was just saying we didn't vote that.
We didn't mention it, but that was an option too.
oh.
That was an option too, yes.
All right, just to be on, keep everything. kind
Yeah,
of
okay,
what
so
we
I will
do
make
that.
the motion that we are increasing the middle school sports fee to $275 per sport.
Great, thank you. Someone second, please?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Ms. Stella, Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. How are you today?
Fabulous.
I bet you are.
Thank you. So I just wanted to present to the committee our third quarter projection. I believe you all have the memo I put together for you. We're kind of staying fairly steady as far as where I predict we'll end the year. However, in the third quarter, we are seeing some cost savings due to the vacancy in the Director of Teaching and Learning position. So that is providing some level of relief to our budget. We continue to see lower than anticipated substitute costs, long-term and short-term,
Great.
as well as our unemployment claims. The last handful of them have been much, much lower than the previous one. So we are seeing some positive news as it relates to the budget, but I never want to say that too loudly because Martha Raymond will then walk into my office tomorrow and it will all change. But I am hoping that we will be able to end the fiscal year with minimal support from the Special Education Reserve Fund. While right now we're looking okay, I will say that I had a conversation with Max Casper, the facilities director, and he's still seeing really wide swings as it relates to the bills for the utilities at the elementary school. And so he was speaking to me a little bit, just saying it is incredibly hard to get a handle on, and very hard for us to actually predict from now through the end of this fiscal year. One thing that he did mention, which doesn't relate to this fiscal year, but I did want to bring up to the committee, was that based off what he is able to see thus far, if we do not get those solar panels up on the roof and actually running and working next year, the utility budget will be well above the $200,000 that hopefully the town is going to be subsidizing. So he's hopeful that they'll be on the roof.
Like, where is that? Because I remember it was value engineered out, and then you had reported that it was gonna be in the fall.
It was on the capital list, right?
So the solar panels were out, but the structure that's needed to, I mean, all the piping, everything's ready to accept them. There's been like a little bit of delay with National Grid and the roof warranty and just making sure, there's just been some back and forth about that kind of stuff that's been delaying things a little bit. But it should happen.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the last I spoke with Max, they'll be at least on the roof in the summer.
Okay.
But then we're also at the mercy of National Grid to
Which is not,
turn them on and let us start
which isn't a
seeing
great place to be at mercy at.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
But also, it probably will take a few months or even longer to sort of work them to capacity, right? To figure out how to get the most out of them. Like, yeah, that's a little bit of a, I mean, it will be tough.
Yeah.
No, National Grid's been tough because the school, it was a long time before they started getting billed. So there's only a few bills to estimate what the average cost is gonna be, right? So that was a problem. Plus there was a problem with, there's 2 meters, but only one was reading and they're only getting billed for one. I mean, there's like a lot of just things and construction's still happening right now. So, you know, there's people working on weekends or at night. I mean, just the usage is a little wonky right now.
Yeah.
So just so the community knows that a week or so, or 2 weeks ago, we met with the Finance Committee, and Max did join us for that meeting to just inform the Finance Committee exactly what Suzanne had said, that it's going to take a bit. It's going to take a while to get shaken out, to get just bills that are, steady.
Right. And so then just lastly, I did want to mention, we just received notification that we'll be receiving another Medicaid reimbursement of $19,712. As you know, that this goes directly into our Special Education Reserve Fund,
Right.
And available for use should we need it. And in total, since we started the program and started receiving reimbursements, which has been 4 so far, we've received $90,896.
And
So
is that quarterly? Is that,
we get them quarterly, but they're very lagged. So this payment we just received was as of 12/31.
so theoretically then, we're looking at about 80 grand a year?
90-ish. Now, who knows what will happen with this
Yes.
program, but
You
At
think
least-
Medicaid would be impacted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sarcasm.
Absolutely. Thank you for you and your team I know it's a lot of work.
yeah, thank you to Martha and all of them, and the therapists and whatnot. It's a kind of a real team effort, so I appreciate all that. That's it.
Is there, And I think this is a question for both the committee as well as leadership. Is there any appetite, or do you see with the departure of Dr. Bacon, I know that there were a group of the team who really picked up the lion's share of what she was doing. So I know that while there's a savings, I wonder if any of that should be used as a stipend for the people who did pick up the work. Certainly not an answer that's needed here, but I would just ask that you consider it, if you deem that reasonable or fair.
Yeah, you let us know on that
I
in
don't
a
know
future
how
meeting.
anybody else feels about that.
No, if, yeah.
I mean, it's a tough one, because we're probably gonna switch savings to different cost centers, right? To pay for what we owe in other cost centers, right? I mean, that's the
Yes.
long-term goal, to try to, I mean, I think like when I read your report, we're like $1,000 in the hole right now.
Correct.
If we balance it with everything,
Okay,
I'm just,
yeah, so then we'd be further in the hole.
Good.
but
Good
it's a
question.
nice thought.
Good question. All right. Anything else,
No.
Ms. Stella?
I'm all set.
All right. I have a few things under chair. First and foremost, just to repeat, myself and Ms. Stella will meet with the Finance Committee on Monday evening at 7 o'clock. I do want to, again, thank Karen for all her years of service, and as everybody, I think, probably knows, we are in the midst of negotiation with 3 units from the Swampscott Education Association, the main unit, which is the teachers and the nurses, as well as the ESP unit and the tutor unit. And Karen and I have talked, and Karen requested, and I completely agree, I would like to make Karen a non-voting member of our negotiating committee, just until this is set, all 3 units are settled. I think we all know Karen brings a lot to the table, and I really don't want to lose that institutional knowledge. I did speak to both leaders of the SEA. They were completely in favor of this. So if I could have someone.
I will happily make the motion to keep Karen around a little
I
bit
will have to
longer.
second it.
All those in favor of appointing Karen Marshall to our committee, say aye. It passes unanimously. Karen, you're sucked back in really quickly. Thank you very much.
For retirement.
Right. Just a couple things from me. And this was brought up a little bit earlier with a discussion about DEI. Kudos to the Commonwealth to stick their feet in the sand about some of the things that have come down from the federal government and basically saying we're not going to do that. Some of that has come down to the local level as well. And I just again want to reiterate, I know I say this a lot, we are in the business of teaching, taking care of any and all students in any capacity, whatever gender, whatever that student or that family believes in, we will teach those students. And I just want to say to the community, we believe very strongly in what we do as far as DEI goes. And we will do that hopefully indefinitely. Lastly for me, and this is actually, it's a difficult topic. And I want to thank publicly Emily Seeley, who's the lead nurse for the public schools. Emily and I, several years ago, sat on a committee and worked with students regarding a suicide that happened to a Swampscott High School graduate, and he was in college. And recently, and why this came to the fore for me, I don't know if anyone out there is a Red Sox fan, there's a special on Netflix. Some reporters covered the team every day last year, and it came out in a recent episode that a young outfielder named Jaron Duran, 22, 23 years old, was talking about his mental health challenges, listening to the boos, not thinking he was worthy of being a major leaguer. And after one particularly very difficult day at Fenway Park, he thought of the ultimate ending of his life. Thankfully, that did not happen, and he shared his mental health challenges. And I was so impressed by someone in that position to open up about that. And I just wanted to remind the community, both students and parents and anyone in the community, and I spoke to Ms. Angelakis about this too. The Swampscott School District is very well aware and very well ready to help with any mental health challenge that a student or a family has. We are fully equipped to help that student and that family. And it's one of those things, if you as an individual don't feel like yourself, please reach out to a parent. If you can't reach out to your parent, reach out to a teacher, reach out to the guidance staff, reach out to the nursing staff, reach out to a friend. And to that friend, please don't keep it a secret. You know, there's been incidences at, you know, all the schools, and, you know, one of my kids was involved in helping a situation, thankfully. So I just want to reiterate, first of all, to Jaron Duran, thank you for sharing that. I was reading an article today that the number of calls to the local suicide prevention and mental health phone lines have been marked increase since he came out. So I just want to remind everybody that, you know, not only do we do a lot of great things regarding education here, we are ready to help any and all students and parents too with mental health. We are. The police department is. The fire department is. Please reach out. Please. All right, that's the only thing I just wanted to say. Thank you for your time, everybody. Subcommittee, let's talk about phones.
Oh, finally. Oh, good. We wanted to make sure we got this to you before you left.
Right, I know. John?
All right, so I will read, it's not that long, I will read through it, but I guess just to kind of bring it back to where the conversation left off, this draft was much longer, and after a number of discussions with myself, Suzanne, Mr. Kalishman, and Mr. Kohut, took in their feedback, and most of that feedback, I guess just to kind of summarize it, was around streamlining, making things clearer. And I think, Jason, that was one of your primary goals, was to make something that would be understood and wouldn't have to be explained going forward. So that was something that was kind of baked into this. So so it's kind of split up between high school, then elementary and middle school, to talk about what the expectations and requirements are. And lastly, we did have a number of conversations around what happens if there's a violation of the policy. And the original draft had I would say, kind of a very detailed set of consequences, and the decision was made just, again, with feedback from the school leaders, that they had their own protocols in those buildings that would be appropriately deployed if there was an infraction. So this policy points to those protocols for what the consequences would be, but does note that there may be consequences, and you know what those levels might be. So with that, I will read through it, and we can have any other discussion after that. Okay. Electronics policy: cell phones, headphones, smartwatches, or other similar devices. Laptops and tablets are often the most appropriate learning tools for students to have accessible within the classroom. The Swampscott School District provides every student a device that has been deemed to be an appropriate learning tool through the one-to-one program. Teachers will be given the autonomy to determine when another device is a more appropriate tool for the learning taking place. In the high school, all devices will be on silent mode and securely put away or into the designated classroom container. All headphones will be removed and put away prior to the start of class. Use of wired headphones will be allowed as deemed appropriate by a teacher. Smartwatches or other similar devices may be worn so long as they are on school mode and not actively receiving communications. In the elementary and middle school levels, the use of personal digital devices in the classroom, for example, cell phone or portable music device, is prohibited by default. Smartwatches or other similar devices may be worn so long as they are on school mode and not actively receiving communications. It is expected that any other devices brought to school will remain in the student's backpack/locker and powered off. While there will be times when a teacher may ask and/or allow students to use personal devices, students will have ample advance warning so students and/or families can prepare accordingly. There are tiered consequences for violating the electronics policy. Consequences may include verbal warning, confiscation, parental involvement. Consequences are determined at each school level. Each school level has appropriate protocols to address violations of the electronic policy. So with that,
Any thoughts, any comments from anybody? All right.
Does it not have elementary school?
Yeah, it's there.
But like,
Elementary and middle are lumped together.
elementary and middle, I just didn't hear it, so I was like.
Okay.
My only comment is that there's a ton of typos in here, lots of periods instead of commas, apostrophes. and-
yes, in the interest of making sure it got here,
Yeah,
Just before-
I'm well
before-
aware of that.
Before it makes it into
Right.
the,
right.
before it makes it into the final.
I think this is great. I mean, I know there's been some move afoot on a state level to ban phones in schools, and, you know, if that happens, we can readdress this to John and Suzanne. Thank you for fighting the battle on this one. I think this is really good. Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, have someone second, please.
Second?
All right, all those in
Wait, can I
favor?
just say something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We only have-
discussion.
We only have first read on
This is
here,
only
we don't
first
have,
read.
Oh,
we don't have vote, so
Oh.
can you just add it to the consent agenda next time?
Yes, can you just add that to the agenda, please, for next time? Okay. Okay, so we promised to vote on this
I know.
next time.
it will get done.
It will get done. All right. All right, so any public comment? Anyone out there in the stratosphere?
It's just Kate Curtis.
Okay, so I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any people running here for
Sam.
the, yes.
Can I make a quick comment? I
You
should have-
absolutely
I
can.
probably should have acknowledged this during committee comments, but I know we talked about robotics a little bit. I want to talk about the event this past weekend.
Sure.
This is our second time since COVID going to a district championship competition. And the team did really well. The event went smoothly. We actually set a world record with our alliance, and that stood for I think an hour. But again, not something that we've ever done before. But I really mainly just wanted to shout out the mentors and all the help that they provided both in the season and during all the events. Specifically, Mr. Wildman, Mr. Crocker, Mr. Casey as well, and our mentor from GE, Walshy. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out them. I should have done it earlier, but
you
just
just repeat their
recognize them for all the time that they put in.
Just
I really
repeat their
appreciate it. Mr. Wildman, Mr. Casey, Mr. Crocker, and our mentor from GE, Walshy.
Great.
So thank you to them. Sorry.
No, please, that's,
I did get a phone call saying that you guys had hit a world record.
Yeah.
Only to be knocked out too soon. So,
It
sorry,
is what it
but I'm
is,
glad that
yeah.
you had the moment to enjoy that. That's exciting. What was the record?
I think we scored 200 and, well, with our alliance partners during our qualification match, we scored 275 points without penalties, or 73. I don't know what it was exactly, but
Oh, that was on social media, right?
it was, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't understand it. Okay.
I saw it.
So out of the teams in the world, we scored the highest as a group.
Wow.
At that point in time, so yeah.
it lasted an hour. Hey,
It lasted it out.
world record for an hour is
It was a
better than
good
not having a
hour.
record at
Yeah,
all. Great, thank you, Sam.
yeah, thank you.
All right, so we just have a couple actions and votes. The first two we already did, the Canopy Lake Park and the fees. The integrated preschool tuition proposal for FY '26, we went through this in the last meeting. So this is just a second formalized vote.
I'll
And
make a motion to approve.
great, thank you very much. Can someone second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? The new fees pass unanimously. Okay, I have a couple donations to go through. Everybody? Okay, so the first one, oop,
They're all the same.
oh, they are,
donation,
great,
just
thank you.
The three individual, the three
No.
individual people all donated the same thing.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so we have 3 donations that we're going to combine into one. Thank you, Suzanne. From Rebecca Flack, Colleen Cunningham, and Melissa Kaplan. They have all donated a Swampscott High School prom ticket, so that's 3 prom tickets that were donated. Again, the individuals making those donations, Melissa Kaplan, Rebecca Flack, and Colleen Cunningham. They're sponsoring 1 junior prom ticket each. It's $95 per unit. These 3 individuals offered to provide 1 ticket for a junior in need of financial assistance.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yes, can someone second, please?
Second.
All those in favor? It passes unanimously to those 3 incredible people, Ms. Kaplan, Ms. Flack, and Ms. Cunningham. Thank you so much. It really means a lot when the community, even if it does this small thing, but that's going to guarantee that 3 people can now go to the junior prom that may or may not have had an opportunity. So thank you very much for that. And then lastly, even though there's only one thing on the consent agenda, I'll just read it through. The consent agenda is designed to expedite the handling of routine and miscellaneous business of the district. The school committee may adopt the entire consent agenda with one motion. At the request of any committee member or members, any item or items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. There's only one item, the regular session minutes of March 27, 2025. Can someone please make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Someone second?
Second.
All those in favor? It passes unanimously. And then lastly,
Motion to adjourn.
thank you, someone second, please.
Oh, wait, no.
No, yes, no, you have to
Karen
make
should
it.
the motion.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second it.
All those in favor? It passes unanimously. Thank you,
And
Karen.
you guys don't give
We
up.
are out.